Ladies and gentlemen, baseball fans, and anyone who loves a good underdog story, gather around because we've got something special for you today. Introducing Mason Miller, the Oakland A's new flame-throwing superstar. This guy's got a fastball that makes you wonder if your radar gun is broken. 103 miles per hour? That'll make you check that calibration on that gun for sure. Mason Miller, the name that's been echoing through ballparks and making batters' knees buckle in fear. This guy has an electrifying presence on the mound, and he's here to make sure everyone knows it. Imagine facing a pitch so fast, you don't even have time to blink. By the time you realize the ball has left his hand, it's already in the catcher's mitt. That's the kind of heat Mason Miller brings to the game. The Oakland A's are having a season straight out of a sports movie script. If you've ever watched the movie Major League, you'll know what I mean. The team's owner, John Fisher, gutted the roster while keeping ticket prices sky high, making the team's poor performance an excuse to move them to Vegas. The goal from the top down was to be bad, really bad. But there's only one problem with that plan. The clubhouse didn't get the memo, especially their bullpen. The A's bullpen currently sits in the top half of MLB in ERA, FIP, strikeouts minus walk percentage, and win probability added. They finished bottom 3 in all those categories last year. Talk about a glow-up! Mason Miller's story is straight out of Hollywood. If we were making a movie about the A's season, he'd be the star. He's like their very own Wild Thing for Major League. From his extreme velocity to the question of where the heck did this guy come from, Mason Miller's journey is one you won't want to miss. You know that misfit toy island from those holiday specials? Yeah, the A's bullpen is kind of like that, but way cooler. They've got Kyle Mueller, who went from the worst starter in MLB last year to a solid multi-inning reliever. This guy has turned his career around like he found a cheat code. Then there's Mitch Spence, who the A's swiped from the Yankees in the Rule 5 draft. He's been pitching like he's got something to prove, and boy has he been proving it. And let's not forget Lucas Luetge, who spent 6 years playing third base in the minors before ever pitching professionally. Now he's a setup man who's shutting down hitters left and right. The bullpen is like a collection of underdog stories rolled into one, and they're all peaking at the right time. It's like watching a bunch of Cinderella stories, but instead of glass slippers, they're rocking cleats and throwing heat. But the crown jewel of this bullpen, the guy who's really stealing the show, is Mason Miller. Imagine having a closer who throws faster than a speeding bullet. Miller's fastball is so fast, it could probably break the sound barrier. Just a few weeks ago, you might have thought Mason Miller was the name of your local barista. Now, he's the name on everyone's lips in the baseball world. It's wild to think that a guy who was practically anonymous a short while ago is now the A's secret weapon. If this was a movie, Mason Miller would be the character who comes out of nowhere to save the day. He's like the superhero of the bullpen, swooping in with his 103-mile-an-hour fastball to strike out the bad guys. And trust me, his journey is just as dramatic as any Hollywood script. Coming out of Bethel Park High School in Pennsylvania, Miller was a tall but extremely thin righty with no D1 offers. His fastball sat in the high 80s, and he tired unusually quickly on the mound. He was a great high school pitcher, but that was over, and he was presented with a choice: go be a normal student or grind to keep the dream alive. He chose to go to the local Waynesburg University and play Division III ball. And that, folks, is where the legend of Mason Miller truly begins. From humble beginnings to the bright lights of the MLB, Mason Miller's story is one of grit, determination, and a fastball that defies belief. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into his incredible journey. Coming out of Bethel Park High School in Pennsylvania, Miller was tall, skinny, and throwing high 80s heat. No D1 offers, but he had a dream bigger than a Texas barbecue. So he grinded it out at Waynesburg University, a D3 school where glamour goes to die. Playing baseball for Waynesburg's Yellow Jackets? It's not exactly living the dream. No athletic scholarships, barely enough bleachers to seat a Little League game, and a left center field that's more like a highway rest stop. But Miller wasn't in it for the glamour, he was in it for the love of the game. His freshman year? Let's just say it wasn't pretty. Sophomore year? Still not pretty. Despite bulking up before the season, he fell back down to 155 pounds. It was like his dream was slipping through his fingers faster than a greased pig at a county fair. And then, plot twist, The summer before his junior year, Miller found out he had type 1 diabetes. It was scary, but it turned out to be the best thing for his health and career. Regulating his insulin was like finding the cheat codes to life. He packed on muscle and started throwing heat like never before. Junior year, he was a beast, starting 11 games, fastball in the mid-90s, ERA under 2. Senior year, he was even better, but COVID-19 cut his season short. Lucky for him, the NCAA gave everyone an extra year. Mason transferred to Gardner-Webb University, where he dominated like a boss. His 5th year earned him an invite to the MLB Draft Combine, and the A's picked him in the 3rd round. From D3 to an early round draft pick in just over a year? That's like going from backup dancer to headliner at a Vegas show. After the draft, Miller threw 6 innings in rookie ball, striking out 9 and only allowing a run. He continued to get stronger, refining his delivery and touching 100 miles per hour with some consistency. In 2022, a shoulder strain limited him to just 14 innings, but he struck out 25 of the 50 batters he faced. Talk about making the most of your time on the mound. Starting in 2023 at AA, he struck out 13 batters in his first start and immediately got promoted to AAA. In his first AAA start, he allowed only a single base runner in 5 innings and struck out 11 of 16 batters. 5 days later, after fewer than 30 professional innings, Mason Miller made his MLB debut. That's right, from Division III ball to the major leagues in a heartbeat. If that's not a Hollywood story, I don't know what is. In his MLB debut, he struck out the side, touching 102 miles per hour on the radar gun. Just imagine being one of those batters, stepping up to the plate and facing a guy throwing absolute gas. And Miller didn't stop there. In his second start, he struck out Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani back-to-back. That's like taking down 2 bosses in a video game without breaking a sweat. But Miller wasn't done making headlines. In his third start, he dominated for 7 no-hit innings against the Mariners. It was like watching a master at work. By his 4th start, he had thrown 6 more excellent innings against the Royals. The A's might have been in the midst of a historically bad season, but Mason Miller was a shining beacon of hope. Unfortunately, like all good stories, there were some bumps along the way. Miller suffered a minor UCL sprain, which held him out for most of the year. But when he returned in September, it was like he hadn't missed a beat. He came out of the bullpen and continued to dominate, making 2 more starts in an opener role, totaling just 3 innings in those games. For 2024, Miller prepared as a reliever in an effort to mitigate injury. Even though he was touching 102 miles an hour as a starter, he became even more dominant this year as a reliever. His fastball is hotter than ever, and batters are left wondering how to hit against this human flamethrower. Miller's fastball averages 101 miles per hour with over 17 inches of induced vertical break, putting him in the prime Aroldis Chapman tier. He doesn't just touch triple digits, he lives in them. Over a quarter of his pitches this year have been at or over 101 miles per hour, and he's thrown more than half the pitches over 102. His slider is equally filthy, thrown just over 40% of the time, and is almost untouchable when located low and away to righties and low and in to lefties. Batters whiff about half the time they swing at either pitch. Since allowing 2 runs in his first game of the season, Miller's been lights out. He's made 13 appearances without allowing a run, allowing just 1 hit and 2 walks while striking out 30 batters in his last 11 games. Batters are 1 for 41 against him, striking out 70% of the time. His FIP is a mind-boggling negative .92. He's on pace for one of the best seasons by a reliever ever. Miller won AL Reliever of the Month in April and is getting unprecedented national media coverage. His story, which could have ended many times, is now one of the most exciting in baseball. Mason Miller has energized the entire A's roster and fan base. While the A's future remains uncertain, one thing is clear: Mason Miller is a star. Every time he steps onto the mound, it's must-watch baseball. Here's to hoping he stays healthy and continues to dominate, keeping the A's in the race and giving fans a reason to cheer. Thanks for tuning in to Baseball Spark. If you liked the video, smash that subscribe button and join the party. We'll catch you in the next inning.